Hey, can you hear
Hey,
me?
Alan, how you doing? Yeah,
Good. How are you?
great.
All right, y'all. There we go. All right.
Cool. Are you guys in Austin?
I am in Austin.
How's the snow?
It's nuts, actually. It's nuts. I mean, the snow part is not that bad. So, like, the snow is just like looks like Colorado. It's like
Oh, yeah.
feet of snow, you know. But what's bad is like thousands of people without power.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's no timeline for when that power is coming back at this point. So it's all these houses that have frozen pipes. And none of these people, I think, none of these people understand what that means. But Thursday or Friday, when the stuff's gonna start melting, is gonna be rough.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, that's rough.
Because, you know,
It's
if you lived in Austin, you're like, oh, the pipes are just frozen. They'll unfreeze on Thursday. So, we'll see. These plumbers are about to just, it's gonna be bad.
They're gonna have a lot of work.
Yeah, we're super lucky because we lost Wi-Fi, we lost cable last night, but so far we've got everything else. So, but
Yeah,
Central Austin. How are you?
Good. It's I at my house, my pipes froze, so I had to come into town. I live out, and then my office is closed, so I'm at my parents' actually right now. But it snowed a lot here too, and it was like -9 this morning, so which is wild. I mean, it gets cold in Oklahoma, but not that cold.
No, that's crazy. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, this is really interesting because they were supposed to do a rolling blackout, and then that didn't work.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, are you getting a little break from work then? Are you all everybody's there not getting out?
Yeah, I mean, I still have like my OC teams they still have work to do, so I'm still working with them, but everybody's out doing virtual stuff. So
okay, makes sense. Well, I think the purpose of this call today was to just kind of, I think Chris finished up his step of deconstruction of the kind of the numbers, and I think we were going to kind of compare, right? I'm trying to get it off my memory, so tell me if I'm wrong. Everything is kind of like old mumbo jumbo. But we're going to look at both plans and kind of see, Chris like, hey, here's what I'm thinking, and I was like, here's what I'm thinking, and then just kind of just give you the feedback. So you get to look at it and say, okay, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense, and kind of go from there. So right, is that right, Chris?
Okay. Yes.
Cool. So if that's the case, do you mind, Alan, first, just for me, and I don't know if you can, Chris, do you have basically a copy of Alan's spreadsheet? Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Do you want to share your screen and then just show us the Alan's part, and just Alan, if you could just like roughly walk through, if you don't mind, what the plan was, that would be great.
Yes. Do you want me to share or Chris? Oh, you got it. Okay.
I mean, yeah, Chris got the same thing, right? So
yeah. Yeah. So basically, I took what they had on their franchise disclosure document numbers, and I took what I thought would be reasonable, and some of them I didn't think were reasonable, and so I basically just tried to decide what expenses would happen and what wouldn't. So
Okay.
basically, this is all for one truck, and I just assumed about 10 additional smashes per month that are happening, except after 6 months it turns to 20, and then it kind of goes back down.
Okay.
A lot of this is based off of what the Oklahoma City guy was doing. So he said he was doing about 380 a month, and I thought I could do more based on what he was doing and watching him. And so I go from I get to 380, and then I slowly keep increasing, and I think in total I get to like 1,500 or something in 2 years or 3 years.
1,500 monthly smashes
Monthly smashes, yeah.
with one truck.
With one truck.
And what's the capacity of a truck?
Actual, like without driving from place to place, it's about 32 smashes per day. But if you're gonna drive and it's 15 minutes a dumpster and you're doing 8 hours a day, then it's probably closer to like 20.
So that would put monthly capacity at 1,200, right? No,
yeah.
not 1,200. I'm sorry, 600. 20 smashes times 30 days.
Yeah, that's
Even
if you're only
work every
working.
day.
That's only if you're working 8 hours. I think you could work 16 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. But that still puts you at 1,200.
Yes.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Right.
but I sorry. I think
No,
though
go.
there's some operational leverage in the fact that once you're at that scale, I think the drive time is gonna be reduced because smashes will be closer together. So you'll be able to get, I think, double that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Just wanted to kind of understand. All right. Go ahead, Alan.
It's
That
not
makes sense.
perfect capacity at yeah.
Sure.
So.
No. Just rough numbers. I just want to make sure that's possible.
Yeah.
So.
So basically I thought it was decent around overhead was 10 to 15 based on, or I mean 10 to 20,000 based on how much operation or how much work we had, because there's some variable costs in there, like commission for a salesman and the hourly work for the driver.
Let me ask you this just real quick, Alan. You said you cut down some expenses comparatively based on what they were advertising. What was the difference? I mean, how much did you shave off?
Yeah. I gotta open that one. Let's see. So they did it weird where they basically just did it as a % of sales, and I didn't like that because that doesn't really tell me anything.
Right.
Let's see here. Oh, here it is. So, I mean, it's hard because they did it as a % of sales, but they basically said if you do 1.5 in revenue, you're gonna make 50% on that in profit. So they're
So they had a 50% expense.
it's hard to
ratio?
tell exactly overhead per month because they have like payroll of $200,000 and rent of $15,000. So because they did it on a % of sales, it's hard to tell exactly what the actual number is.
And their % of sales is about 50%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Chris,
at 50.
can you just add a line below that line 25 and just put a percentage of revenue? And I know it's gonna change, but just kind of stretch it to the right just to see what that looks like. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay,
So I was at about 30% profit
Oh,
at the
sorry.
very end.
I messed up.
Oh, I can do
now we expect you to be perfect, so that's unacceptable.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so and if you average that whole line, so you get to basically 20% expense ratio at the very end of it. Yeah, and if you average that whole line, what is that? Unacceptable.
Why is it? Oh, geez.
It's Google Sheets. That's what the issue.
That's dude. I was just about to go there. 34.
34.
Okay. Okay, so you shaved out about 15%. Let's just say roughly on average. Okay. All right, keep going. Got it.
Okay, let's see. Let's see.
Yeah, if you could just tell me where you want me to go. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I'm assuming a lease payment and what is that? SBA loan, I believe.
Mhm.
Or
There's
no,
both.
interest. A leasing and interest.
Got it.
And so then, where's that from?
Yeah, but
So
you're
basically like $2,000 extra a month for the lease and the interest. And that's from this company that most of the people are using to lease it. But the more I talked to people last week at the conference, I think it's more beneficial to just get the loan if possible, because, well, that's getting in the weeds, but I think basically I have a lease here and I think it's better if it's an SBA loan.
yeah.
for
The payment
a
on
lot
the
of different
SBA
reasons.
is $2,700.
Yeah. Okay. So about that much in debt service a month. And so I have break even in how many months is that?
It's 34.
At the growth rate that I had, it's like it's about a year to break even. Let's see what else.
A year? What do you mean? That's January 2024, right?
That's when
22, February of 22. Now I also have a start date of April, so
April 2021.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. November. Okay, so okay. So break
And
even
that's
is March
also
2022, right?
That's also not including anything that it's assuming that the salesman is also taking commission and I'm the salesman. So it's not like adding another salesman to that.
Okay. So
It's
yeah,
been a
could you
while
walk
since
us?
I've messed with this, so
No, that's okay. Could you walk us through the HR piece of this? Because I mean, the P&L piece generally makes sense. So what does the HR look like in your plan? Like,
yeah, it's really just me and another and a driver, and the driver would be getting hourly $20. I think it's 20. yeah, dollars an hour. And then in my original one, it was just me doing sales at, I think, like 2,500 or 3,000 a month, and that was it as far as payroll. But then I was trying to look and see what it would look like if I hired a salesman too.
What does that look like? Roughly.
Well, I mean, that's more of what Chris did, because I didn't put myself in there as well as a salesman.
And how does that, I guess, where are you on that salesman question? And have you talked to the people at the conference about what do those salesmen cost?
Yeah, I don't know exactly the cost. I actually, one guy was showing me his projected P&L, and I was trying to take pictures and get as much as I could, but I couldn't catch it. But as far as where I am on that question, I think it's pretty necessary. I want to do it as well, but I think they just keep hammering it. Like, if you're not a trained salesman, get one, because, you need to. And I'm just thinking, as far as all the other stuff that goes into it, it's not just, they're doing this training every Monday, and it's horrible, terribly put together, but there's like a lot of back end work as far as like scheduling and lead generation and HubSpot and all these different things that they want us to get going. And so I don't know that, if I'm doing that, I'm not selling, which, if the whole thing is sales, then I want to support the sales. So I don't know. I feel like it's very necessary at this point to hire someone, and then I can also do it. And so I guess I get best of both worlds there.
With your gut right now, if you had to choose, right, to be the back end support or the front end sales, which one are you feeling?
My gut would say the back end support, because
okay.
I was thinking about this a lot. I think I would rather be like the owner that is following up with these customers, like, hey, I want to make the best for you. How can we keep, I guess, I don't want to say upsell, but like improve customer experience, so that's what my gut says right now.
Have you asked anybody?
I also want to do both.
Okay. Say that again. Say that last part again.
At the beginning, I would really like to do both, which is to say it. I think I have to, right? Because if there's no customers, there's no back end, right? So, yeah. So at the beginning, I would like to do both.
Okay. Have you talked to anybody that's existing operator to find out how much they're paying their salespeople?
I have not. I did get a contact of a guy my age that's the general manager of the Columbus franchise, and I just sent him an email because I want to see that same. I want to ask him that question, which is like, how are you doing payroll, and what's that look like for you?
Okay.
And what does it cost? My guess is it's around. Yeah, it's hard for me to get an exact number on that.
No, that's a tough guess, because I had no idea. Okay. And then how's your personal journey been going with, trying to get that sales gig situation in Oklahoma?
Well,
the training portion.
Since we last talked, I haven't gone out because I was gone. But my plan was this week to go out and try and talk to some people in that area that I have kind of scouted out. And just, I guess just go see if I can talk them into letting me walk around with them, and then see if they want to, or if I can connect them to Larry and get them smashing. So
Yeah. See if you can solve their problem of spending too much money on trash. Got it. Okay.
And so that, I mean, I can't do that now, obviously, but that's
Right.
my plan. Maybe Thursday or Friday, when this is all melted.
And then the last part of this, I guess, for me to understand is, when is the timeline for when this, I mean, I'm assuming everything gets kicked off when the truck is there, right? When is that happening?
I've sent them like 450 emails and they don't respond to me. I have no idea. I got an email at the end of December, like literally the last day of December, that the truck was on the water. But I haven't heard anything since. And it's supposed to be like 2 months after it's on the water, you get it. So technically I should be getting it right now. But from what I understand is they're way behind. So
and April was your plan.
At the content. Yeah.
So
everybody I talked to at the conference was like, I was like, so when do you get your truck? And they're like, I don't know. And so nobody knows when they're getting their truck, which is really aggravating. But they just fired like their supply chain manager and hired somebody else. So who knows? Maybe they'll get better now. I'm just sitting here waiting, and if I had a date, I could then, I don't know.
Right. This is real business right there for you.
Yeah.
After seeing a cool logo, like that's the background of what really happens. Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, so your plan ideally here would be is to go get some training and try to figure out if you can get some customers for Larry, right? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And then with that thing, if it goes well, then be like, hey, Larry, I'm just going to do this for free for you until you want to pay me, and get, a couple of months of experience of sales. And then my assumption is the more you do that, the more it helps you answer the question of, can I do this myself, or do I need to find somebody? And if I do, what does it look like? How much do I pay, and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, and I think even if I do it myself, I still should hire someone to also do it. Because I think it works out better that way, because I think there is a lot more on the back end that has to get done than I initially thought there was. And so, I mean, I guess you're right. If I start doing this and I'm like, I could totally do this myself, then I hire somebody to do the back end and I do the
front end. Okay.
So yeah,
and then your plan was,
you're right.
And then your plan was to continue doing that, until you max out capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at that point, then there's the whole deal with like getting another truck. And I don't have that in this spreadsheet, but it's like a 6-month wait to get another truck. So there's a lot of people that were saying buy the truck now, the second truck now, which is a wild thing to do, I think. But
seems premature.
That might have to be, it seems premature to me. But
okay.
Everything they're saying is like load up on front end and it'll figure itself out, which is.
Let me guess who's saying that. The people who are selling the truck?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I have to.
Chris?
In my head, I'm like, they're trying to sell me something. This whole conference is basically them rolling out new things, and I'm like, maybe you should get some people to answer emails before you start rolling out new things. But
yeah.
So there, yeah. I'm trying to find that balance of where it makes sense to ramp up fast versus like figure it out first and then ramp it up. So.
Okay. Well, sounds great. So thank you. This catches me up. I think I understand it kind of generally. All those second order decisions about second trucks, more employees, in my opinion, probably require a lot more information that you're not going to have about the business for a little while.
I can't have.
So
yeah.
So talking about those decisions right now is probably kind of, wasted time. So, okay. So from here, if you'd like, I think, Chris, if you want to present kind of when you broke the numbers down, what does it look like for you? And then just so you know, Alan, then we can bounce ideas off, whatever. And then we can just really ask how we can best support you in whatever ways possible. So I think that's the plan. Is that good, Chris?
Yep, sounds good. So Alan, I really used a lot of your numbers, determine if it made sense or not, and kind of played out. I built in putting a sales guy on day one.
Yeah.
Understanding there's just a lot of back end stuff as well. For that sales commission, I built in, I guess, a base of like 50K, and then monthly commission averages, I don't know, 2,500. So it's about a total comp of like 77, which may be a little low, but I think for the area it was right on par. And I pushed that like as a variable cost for that sales commission, so it kind of varies. I'm only paying for 1 month, so but the growth rate, I'm actually growing a little faster, and adding, and once that growth kind of hits, I start adding other like ancillary personnel, so like back end staff. The ultimate goal is by year 5, right, you could hire a manager and kind of step away if that's what you wanted to do. The manager is not built in this, but it was kind of the thought process through this. Now, growing at the faster rate, it does impact when you have to add a truck, which I think the capacity itself kind of, as I kind of mentioned before, would reduce once you had a certain footprint. Just it would allow the scheduling to happen, and reduce the drive time. So I think you could kind of double those initial projections. So that's that. I have, so I think there's at a certain point, once you've like hit the capacity for one truck, like that salesperson kind of switches into an inside sales guy versus like the hunter that's going to go like just crush jobs. I just think you'll have enough market exposure that word of mouth will start taking over at that point. But so I kind of shifted that. I didn't change the model of compensation, but I think you could potentially reduce that compensation for an inside sales guy. I have December 23rd, which is 1 month less. I think I'll look at the yearly, but is where the equity split kind of switches. So total compensation to Sunil at that point would be 395. I think it's like 375 is double what he actually put in. So it's right on. I'll tell you exactly what it is. Yeah, 375 is like what you need to pay back to do the equity split. So what's the other thing? I did add a new truck once we hit like kind of 900. So like at that kind of capacity. I kind of built it as an SBA loan, so it's just like $3,000 kind of covered it. I calculated like 2750, I think is what it exactly was. But
yeah.
What's the other thing? Oh, I added. So once you hit about 300-400, I added like a customer service kind of scheduler. And when you hit like 900, I added another one. So my thought is that person could do scheduling, take customer service calls, new inquiries, but then also be trained to do billing. So it's kind of like adding that piece and kind of removing yourself from actually doing it is kind of the thought there. So that's roughly there. I'll kind of shift to the yearly projection just so you can see the numbers a little clearer. So I kept about the same amount of cash in the business that you had. I think you had 70K. It's going to take about 65K to kind of get break even. But after that point, you're having some decent cash flows. Now, the assumption, I guess the big assumption here is how many smashes one customer's in do in a month. So I kind of looked at that based on market capacity. I assumed 1, and then I assumed 4. I think it's probably somewhere between there, but you can kind of tell me what your thoughts are there. But it's 1 smash a month. I mean, it kind of hits market capacities is kind of hit at year 5. But if they're doing multiple smashes in a month, which I could foresee that happening. I don't know if what you've kind of found
For sure,
in
yeah.
industry standards, but if it's 4, it kind of reduces down to 12 and 13, which I think's more comfortable.
Yeah.
Kind of like the projections. But do you have a number of what like typical customer does?
4 is closer to it. So they're trying to get us. So the way I built it was in like revenue per smash, but the way they're trying to get us now to do it now is like % of savings over a month. So it kind of averages out to the same thing, but you know, it usually the customers that we're looking for is like they fill it up once a week and they're hauling it off. And so an even bigger customer might be like a home developer and they have 6 dumpsters and it's, you know, a 6-month project. And so they're churning 6 dumpsters, you know, once a week. And so, yeah, there's 4 smashes a month is a good average.
Okay.
For all those different variety of customers.
Okay. So yeah, that's good to know. So I guess equity, just big picture, if you look at equity split happens like month 33 versus your model was month 34.
Okay.
Second truck, the difference is month 26 versus month 31, just based on the growth rate. Cash positive, CL is, or the projection I have is you would be cash positive a few months before, so 9 months versus 12. Now, here's the total kind of compensation paid, which is a little less than what your projection was. But the argument I have is I think there's like additional like labor personnel that you would have to add that's going to kind of reduce that.
Yeah.
But my thought, like kind of the picture is that like year 4, year 5, you could really like put a manager in place and then kind of start stepping back. And this whole system will kind of sustain itself. I guess that's my overview. Do you have anything else I need? Sorry, I'm not the best at presenting.
No, this is actually great. So let me just as a third party kind of sum up and then see what Alan makes, seems. So, generally the model is the same, more similar to the new Alan's evolved view of the business in terms of maybe we're going to have to bring some people on. It seems like the cost of the salesperson is higher than maybe what Alan is thinking, but by having a higher cost of salesperson, you're getting more sales. You're thinking you can actually ramp up sales faster, which actually pays for itself sooner because you become cash positive 3 months sooner. So it's like investment, better salesperson is going to pay for itself type of thing. And then you're more bringing on people and having Alan out of the weeds sooner. It sacrifices some cash flow, but your argument is it's probably maybe unrealistic to think that Alan can do all the back end things by himself. Then effectively you can figure that out later to see when you're really running the business if you need help or not. But even if you do need help, so at this point, I guess my only question, year 4 or 5 when he's making 400, 500K, what is the head count at that point and what is Alan actually doing?
how the model's built, he's still like the manager, like leader of the organization. But total head count at that point is like 7. That's including the drivers.
So that's 2 trucks,
Yeah, 2
2
trucks,
drivers,
so 4 drivers.
4 drivers.
I think it's between 3 and 4 drivers, depending on
Okay.
what you're kind of running there. I think year 5 you only need 3 drivers. You could have one
Okay.
truck with 2 drivers, one truck just 1 driver. And then Alan's not in this number, so there'd be actually 8 with Alan.
Okay. But if the number is 7, there's 3 drivers. How many office people? 2?
There's a sales guy and 2 customer service schedulers or billing.
Okay.
So yeah, so
That's
maybe
6.
I did take, I saw Alan's, that's 7.
Alan the 7. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, and at that point, I guess, so before Alan, you were probably budgeting that you were doing all the customer service, all the back end, you're the leader, you're doing everything. And, you know, which is still an option to choose, but Chris, you're saying you should probably plan on getting a team together. So it's more of a running business and, you know, I'm assuming your schedule is pretty light at that point, even before you getting removed from the company, if you want it. Okay. Okay. That makes sense to me. They're 2 a little bit different paths, but I think they're more similar now than what's from the original plan that Alan had. Right. So, but yeah, any thoughts, Alan? Any feedback?
Yeah. I mean, I like that they're decently close as months off. It makes me feel decent about what I made. The only thing that's a little bit hesitant for me is like total smashes. I guess going, even though it's, I don't know, maybe going from 3,000 smashes to 9,000 smashes in a year. I don't know. It's hard for me to know what the market actually looks like, because are those percentage numbers, are those what you got off that document I sent you, Chris?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not, you know, that's the only thing I'm a little bit like, I don't know about that, but I don't know. I guess I don't have a fully formed thought on that.
So
because like if you hire all these people early and the market's not as saturated as we think, or as they've presented it, then you have all these people, but you've also not hire anybody until year 3 anyway. Now I'm just talking out loud, trying to think.
Good.
Yeah, that makes makes sense.
And the thought there, Alan, is like, hey, here's the plan. Like, here's like kind of where we see you have to add people. Right. Like if it's, you could hold that off
earlier or later,
or earlier. Yeah. It's all relative to like how the business is actually performing.
Yeah.
So the only decisions that are really pretty immediate is you're saying, Chris, like good salesperson right away.
Yes.
And then the next decision is when?
I'm saying about when you have like 400 smashes. Yeah, about next year.
Okay. Sorry, Alan, go ahead.
That's when we get the scheduler.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think. Sorry.
No. The one thing I was thinking is just listening to other franchise owners is the whole like they have a Monaco account, which is like the billing system, but it's a lot of like there's a lot of figuring that stuff out and doing that kind of stuff. billing and agreements and invoicing and all that kind of stuff. So, which is a lot more than I thought it was going to be. So at that 400 customers for sure, that makes sense to me to have somebody at least by next year.
And this is
And
kind of,
maybe earlier.
and here's like some like rough deliverables for each kind of person for what I see them doing. So I would see your sales guy like having the autonomy to like negotiate, do the contracts, like, kind of be that guy. And then the, sales rep would be like customer conflicts, answer calls, new inquiries, and which I think that person could also be trained for like billing, quick like invoicing and billing. And then the scheduler, I think that person does all three jobs. So once you hire them, you train them to do all three, and then when you hire the next person, you train them to do all three.
Which is why I think it's almost like beneficial that I do that, to start, because there's so many of these different vendors that Smash My Trash has that I'm trying to figure out right now. And if I'm trying to figure that out while I'm selling, then I'm not selling or I'm not figuring it out. But I do think I can work on figuring those things out. And then I'm the guy that trains the new guy, and that makes sense to me, because I'd rather me be the guy training the new guy to do those things than Smash My Trash be the guy that's training them, because they're terrible at that. And so, like, as the guy that's getting trained by them, like, they're terrible. So I'd rather be the guy training my guy to do that than them. And then I can also do as much sales as I can while I'm learning those other things.
So effectively, from a timeline perspective, between now and you receiving the truck, it seems like this would be the time to learn both jobs, right? The sales and the back end job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as you learn and put yourself out as much as you can sales wise, you then also look for the salesperson.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Once the salesperson is there, you drop back and you do the office stuff until you're ready to hand that off.
Yeah.
And hire a person to do that. Which is kind of your plan, just accelerates the sales, bring it on a little bit faster.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's a little bit more sped up, but I think that's actually, it makes more sense in the brain.
You already made sure that.
Chris, sorry, you gotta have to mute it when you're not talking. I'm sorry, man. Thank you.
It makes more sense in my brain that way. And just from watching everyone else go through this and the stuff that they're doing, it seems it's dealing with Smash My Trash. I want to do that as little as possible. So if I can do that, then that makes more sense.
Okay.
And it's less stressful for the person coming on too.
Okay. So then from that perspective, the way that I'm thinking, right, is like, so let's go there just again for a little bit. What's the part that makes you nervous about this whole thing? Most nervous? This model working.
Mostly that there's not enough, or the market potential, I guess. So I mean, if we're talking about the spreadsheet itself, like this model, it's
right.
that.
Well,
but
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I don't have anything else.
Okay. So it's kind of like Mark Cuban idea, right? Sales cures all type of thing.
Yeah.
So if you can sell this, then everything
Yeah.
else works.
Yeah.
Right.
At least that's kind of
Okay.
how yeah, exactly. Mhm.
So, so then if that's the case, so then for me, I'm starting to break it down further, right? It's like, I mean, when you look at the proposal, right? If I'm a builder or whatever, it just makes sense, right? Why would I not
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
So then it's just a matter of having enough of those people
Yes. Yeah. And
that
that's
you can
where I'm
convert.
like, yeah, because I've done the dumpster thing where you look for the dumpsters and pin them, and I think I found like, or Alan Bean also found like about 400 dumpsters that look like they're in a that they're leased by somebody. So
Okay.
that's if they're turning them over 4 times a month, then that's whatever 4 times
1,600.
is 1,600, and then you add in home builders and all those different people.
Okay.
I don't know.
Chris, can you go back to the numbers just to see what's the total smashes at that year 5? 17,000. So you divide it by 4. So basically 400 customers, right? Assuming four a day. I mean, 4 a month. It's 400 customers or so.
Oh, is that what that is? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
That
if you
makes
need to
sense.
get 372 customers, then the question becomes, what's the total addressable market and how much of it can you capture, right? Are there any thoughts on that? Do they have any data that shows, like conversion ratio on potential people?
Yeah, so this number is based on what the potential market that he shared with me from Smash My Trash.
But does Smash My Trash share any data on how much they're converting of the potential market?
Oh,
Well, their conversion rate is random. I mean, like, so Larry told me that, like, if he gets a demo, he generally gets a customer. And it's like 90% of people that see it work, it happens. But Smash My Trash I've heard everything from like 30% to 50% conversion after a demo. So,
Okay. So worst case 30.
Yeah.
Which means you got to have about 1,000 of potential customers to make this model work at year 5, right, Chris? What's that 372 times 5? I mean, times 3 or whatever.
well, there's a total of 2,877 customers.
Where'd you get that from?
That's from the market
That's
data.
from their document.
Is that, I mean, do you trust in that, Alan?
I trust it about 50%.
Okay, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Let's divide that in half. So that gives
Because
us
they're saying
1,400
things like,
possible.
there might be that many companies, right? But the manufacturing companies, 50% of them might be throwing in steel bars or, something that can't be smashed, or like drywall or carpet, or, those sorts of things that aren't smashed well.
So then let's say, so if we believe in total number of customers, what does our conversion need to be, Chris, to make this work?
What total number are we going? Half of his number?
Yeah. So we believe total number is, well I mean, so there's 2,800 customers. Alan says, assume half of them are bogus. And then how many of those do we have to convert to get 372? Just do the total at the end of the story. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just 1,438 divided by 372, right?
62%, I guess.
Hold on, is that annually? Hold on. So number of monthly customers, right, is the line that we're looking at.
Yeah, so it should be times. Okay, hold on. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Yep, that sounds right. 372 out of 1,400 is about 25%. So that's basically the penetration, right? 5%, 13, 17, 21, 25. How does that sound, Alan? Does that sound realistic, or how does that feel?
That sounds realistic. At 25%, yeah.
So kind of here's how we'll look at it. 2,800
Okay.
total, 50% are bogus, right? So we got 1,400 total. And then we're assuming 4 smashes a month. So with that penetration needs to go 5%, 13, 17, 21, 25. If that happens, the whole thing works.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess if you looked at that conversion ratio, right? Like which part is the most stressful, or which part do you not know the least? And can you do this thing for me, Chris? Just type on the right side somewhere, just put those numbers there. That's like total market was whatever, 2,800, just somewhere on the right, like a little bit further, couple, total market 2,800, and then it went to 1,400. Like in a way of a funnel, right? Which number, I guess, is the most, which transition is the most questionable for you? Because all those are assumptions, right?
Yeah. You're saying which of those conversion numbers is the most?
Hold on a second. Let's finish up, then it'll make sense.
Yeah.
Call that like real market, Chris. There we go. Boom. So there we go. So boom, boom, boom. Okay. Yep. And let's do it this way. Let's do it with like, this is just for fun. Let's do it with like yellow, green, and red. So all of our assumptions are, Chris, sorry, can you mute the thing?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. All right. All of our assumptions are 4 trashes a month, 2,875 people, 50% of them are out, right? And then the fourth assumption is the conversion ratio, like 5%, right? Year 1. Right? Is that all of our assumptions, Alan, or am I missing anything?
No. So you're saying 5.
So like
The
when we're
conversion
looking
of
at this,
1,400 customers is.
so in the first year, to make the first year model work, we need to convert 5%, right? Of 1,400.
Okay. And then okay. And then the next year you need to convert 13% of 1,400.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's make this another thing. So Chris, let's do it this way. Can you add one more line on the conversion ratio? That's under line 11. That's gonna go with the same place, and call that like sales calls. So under conversion ratio, put that sales calls into C11. Sorry, C11. Yep. So let's assume, what's the closing ratio you said? Worst case, 30%?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's figure out how many sales calls that is. Right, so it's 5%. So how many customers do we need to have? Yep. You're gonna might have to stretch that line 7 to see how many customers we got, or whatever. You got it. Sorry, that's micromanaging spreadsheet, Tim. So just figure out how many calls we have at a 30% ratio. That does not sound right. So the end result of that needs to be 372 customers at, and let's say if we get new ones every year, worst case, it's not exact math, at 30% ratio. So the end result of that should be about 1,000 calls in year 5. Yeah, 1,200, sure. So, and technically you can adjust this formula because you're assuming that you're going to have the same repeat customers from a previous year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because
So,
the math of this is iffy because, and even on for sure on my spreadsheet too, when I did that, is because what they want us to do is try and get an agreement with them that matches like the waste management agreement. So if they have a lease for 3 years, then ours would match the waste management so that we can show them the savings over 3 years. But
right.
but this is like worst case scenario, I guess.
Right. So there's a number of customers that you get. There's another variable that's going to be churn, how many you lose.
Yeah.
And hypothetically, if you sign that agreement, that number is 0,
Yeah.
I mean, close to 0 or
Hopefully.
whatever. Right. So, right. So my point is, if you look at the whole linear equation of this thing, right,
Mhm.
you have all these assumptions, which is you can make 250 calls a year,
Yeah.
year 1. You will close 30% of those people, basically. And in a total market of 2,800 people where half of them are bogus, right? And that's kind of your whole thing. So my next question would be is, if you look at all those variables, which one do you trust in the least? Which one are you the most worried about?
So there's the 50% of customers are bogus, 1,400, then there's a close rate of 30%.
Yep.
Which is 250 calls.
That's an assumption also. 250 calls is one of them.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not one that really stands. I mean, I'm not feeling one or the other is.
Are there some that stand out that are more like, when you look at it, you're like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know if that feels right.
The 50% one is the most one where I was just, it's kind of a guess.
Right.
But.
Okay.
And then, yeah, but.
Okay. If
I
all
feel
of them
like
feel
at
right.
250 calls.
Yep. Let's put that.
I think
Chris,
that seems reasonable.
Go ahead, Alan. I'm sorry. Keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that at 250 calls, closing 30% is pretty reasonable.
Okay.
Especially if it's just me, right? Like, and I'm figuring it out. Then
that's 21
I can for
a
sure
month.
do. Yeah, like.
1 a day.
So. Yeah. So those seem decent. And then, because, I mean, what's the word? Not worst case scenario. If I'm just doing it myself and I'm doing that, then the first year the model still works, right?
Right. Well, so I guess, we're kind of on time here, but this is what, if all of them feel right, my next kind of, suggestional question would be, this last thing I'll say as far as like suggestions is that, what number needs to, which one do you want to prove out first? Which one is the most important? Like, for example, 250 calls. Are you sure you can do that yourself? And if you can, then maybe you need a salesperson, right? And then the closing ratio, and then the total market. And you just see which one in order is the most important. And then just what can you do to prove that out to feel comfortable? So then you're taking away variability, you're taking away this like, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna work, by specifically proving out, if I'm gonna go call on 10 people, how can I make sure that if I call on 10, I get 3?
Yeah.
Right? How do I make sure I can call on 10? And just prove out in that order, which is why, this getting with that guy might be a good way to prove the beginning of that funnel. Because if I can do it, and then I gotta hire somebody, they can do it. Type of thing.
Yeah. And it probably would be the calls, I can do, or the close rate. Like if I call 10 people, can I get at least 30%?
Right. And then sales would generally, the cool part about sales is that you have to work out that ratio until there's one portion that you can fully control.
Yeah.
Which in that number, usually it's how many phone numbers you dial. That's the only thing you can control. And then from there, you get all these ratios: how many people answer, how many people allow you to come for an appointment, how many people can you convert. And then that, good salespeople measure all that math so they know where the problem is. And then they can optimize, which one is, needs to be improved.
Because there's also the number inside of those that's demo, because it's almost like a cold call to get the demo. And then once you get the demo, then that's the number that I feel like I can't really control. Well, I don't know. The demo number, like close rate after the demo, seems to be the one that nobody really knows.
Right.
And so
let me walk you through just real quick. Phone calls, to how many people answer, to how many people schedule, to how many people actually allow you to do the demo, to how many people say yes, to how many people actually sign the paperwork, to how many people pay you.
Yeah.
The only thing you can control is number of phone calls.
Yeah.
So if you know all those ratios, you can backtrack to how many phone calls specifically you need to make to get 251 customers.
Gotcha.
So, and a good salesperson measures all those, and as they get more data, then they know exactly the only thing they control is how many times they dial the phone.
Yeah.
Really, everything else is, out of your control. So, right. So, on this end, this is just a thought. So, is there any way that you, from here, we can check in once a month, kind of in this way? This was just a comparative model ways, but, is there any way that we can support you in this, or any help that you might need, or anything on this journey?
Yeah. So I was thinking, as far as I would like to just on a month-to-month basis, have some sort of call with a I don't know, I guess based on this model, to have milestones where I'm like, okay, this is where I need to get by the end of this month, and these are the things that's like, I've talked to you and you're like, hey, it sounds like you're going to need to do this and this before the end of this month, or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Or really where I can just say, hey, here's where I want to get by the end of this month, and then you say, okay. And then as far as like hiring as well, I'm still trying to figure out when I need to hire, especially a driver, because I don't know when the truck's getting here, but I just got an email from her. She said March 26th to March 28th. Wait,
Okay.
3 is March.
3 is March. Good. So it's kind of on schedule.
With a launch date of
April,
3/29. Tentative is what she said, of course. Yeah, so I forgot where I was going. Oh yeah, just hiring, like figuring out, because there's training that they have to go to in Indianapolis as well. So I think I need to start getting on the hiring of at least the driver at this point.
Okay.
I don't know
Go
if
ahead,
that, I don't know if
So-
that really, I need. I guess how to do that maybe.
I would recommend not hiring a driver until their schedule be half full. So I would, if you make the initial hire, you'd be the salesperson. There's gonna be some sharing based on sales and demos, and then until you have enough to fill someone's schedule by half, that's where I'd hire somebody.
So me do the driving.
Yeah, between you and the sales guy is what I would recommend, until you've kind of tested that piece.
Okay, yeah, that's different too, because in that case, then I would be doing the driving and selling. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, it's just a short-term recommendation.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Well,
hire someone you don't have any work for, and I think it's like an iterative problem to kind of solve. And there's hiring a someone, and I'm just anticipating someone that has a CDL is what they need.
Yeah.
They're a dime a dozen, so it's not like going to be a hard hire.
You saying there's a lot of those people? Okay. Well, so
I just
here's,
I don't know. Everyone seems to be hiring drivers first, and then just paying them, even though they don't have the work for them, up front. Yeah, I'll have to think about that.
yeah. So Alan, here's kind of the thought. This is just a presentation of what Chris thought and I thought and the
Yeah.
overlook of this whole thing.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be, now that you kind of maybe know this end of March situation, this is what you would use the timeline tool in Asana to build out your plan with some deliverables for next month, for when we can talk at the end of that would be March, right? No, March, yes. Yeah. So that way you just kind of know, and this is exactly what we go over in terms of, hey, how's that going? If you're wanting to do this thing, maybe there's a couple other things you want to do, but somewhere that deliverables plan probably makes sense to have, to be like, hey, here's all the things that need to happen, to however you choose to. It's your choice of how you want to do this thing. And we might just ask some questions about, well, what about this? If you are going to pay the driver, cool, how much? Where's the money going to come from? Do you have it? Okay, cool. And just kind of go from there. But we're available to look over that and give you feedback if that's valuable.
Yeah, that would be helpful, because hiring is one of the things that I'm kind of I don't know, struggling with the most, is like when and how, to go about that. So
that's a hard thing to begin with. That's that's a hard choice for everybody, because there's so many variables, right? The right person, how much you pay, when is the work coming, like that's all the juggling and stuff. So but take a look at, I guess what I would suggest is take a look at the plan. Look at I see that you have some of these, you were gonna look at hiring driver March 1st. Cool. Build whatever plan you have in terms of deliverables. Make sure it corresponds to financials and they both make sense. There's a plan of how that relates. And then we can look over that if you'd like offline or whatever. And then we can kind of give you feedback if that sounds right. And, have kind of monthly ongoing calls that just to see, hey, how's that going? So,
yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It kind of changes now that I know the dates for everything, but
yeah, I can see your wheels turning.
yeah, but but that would be helpful to build out the timeline now that I know the dates.
Okay.
So,
well, why don't we throw the call on the books? Okay. You want to do mid-March?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. So we can technically look at the 16th. It also falls on a Tuesday. How does that, right? How does that work for you, Chris?
Yeah.
It's good for Chris. So we did kind of, and next time, Sunil is traveling, but next time we'll try to make sure that, he is with us as well. So
Sure.
maybe 10 a.m. on next Tuesday. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So I'll send this out real quick. And we can go from there. I'll add Sunil to it as well. For some reason, your email does not populate, Alan, in my Gmail stuff. It's alan.gardner, right?
Garner, yeah, at smashmytrash.com.
That's right. All right. Okay. Well, I think that makes me feel complete. Looks like you got some decisions to make and things to look at. Is that right? And
yeah.
and we'll go from there. It's funny that the timing worked out the way it did.
Yeah.
So, okay, Chris, you got anything else? Any thoughts?
No additional thoughts.
Okay. Very.
Thank you for doing that too, Chris. It's super helpful.
Yeah, let me know if I can help in any other way, or if you want to go hash it back and forth.
Sure.
Yep. No, that's definitely Chris's genius. So, sounds great. All right. We got the email sent out, so we got the call for next schedule. We're available, but we're not have any interest in, in any active persuasion or anything from our end. So we're just available for you, when needed.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Good.
And then I'll see you on on the CL call on the 26th.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Perfect.
Talk to you soon. Later.
Thanks. Bye.